Hi, I'm David Belsky. Welcome to Virtual Sunset Session. We have one of New York's finest with us today, Brian Lane, one of the co-founders of NOWAVE, a licensed New York processor, and the creator of one of the leading brands in New York, Off Hours. Brian, thank you for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me. It's an honor.
NOWAVE is, explain what NOWAVE is for folks that might not know.
Yeah. So NoWave is a cannabis processing company. We're located based in Rochester, New York. We have been here since 2019. We're in our third facility right now, but we actually own the land and the facility here in Rochester, 32,000 square feet. We got about 100 employees at this point.
Wow.
And we're running through products through all the adult use dispensaries across New York State. And we also do some hemp across the country as well. That we've been doing CBD and hemp products since 2019 as well. But yeah, so NoWave is the company name, but Off Hours, Weedwater, and Lucy is our three primary brands that we produce here in Rochester.
Off Hours, Weedwater, and Lucy, and any of those like Farm Bill compliant, where I could, order them shipped to me in the great state of Tennessee.
Off Hours is available actually hemp derived in for Tennessee. Yep, market.
Oh,
Yep, there's a
okay.
little
Well,
bit of
good to
that. Yep,
know. You're about
yep.
to get an order. All
Yep.
right.
So if Tennessee is allowed, then you can go to offhoursbrand.com and you can pick that up there. And then in New York State, you can't buy those products because it is not legal with our market. So our market dictates that in New York State, the hemp or cannabis products can only have 1 milligram THC to 15 milligrams minors here. So those products are never available in New York State, but out of New York State, they are available.
Understood. Thank you. So
Mhm.
you and your partners, there was like a lottery or an application process for back in the
Ooh.
CBD craze of like 2017, 2018, when CBD was going to be in everything. And right, New York State, is a long
That's
history of
right.
agriculture. I went to Cornell, big great ag school.
Yes, it
Um,
is. Just
but
south of us.
what's your cannabis story? Like, why were you like, I think this is something we need to look into?
Well, I have a personal relationship with cannabis, having been a consumer since the age of 17. My mom called it ADHD medicine, but I've consumed through smoking and water primarily for 30 years. I'm in my early 50s now, 53. I had a full scan health-wise of my body, and when I was 48 years old, I had a clean heart. No, it was that of a 30-year-old. I'm sure that was for some of my athletic career as well. But lungs are clean, no asthma, which made me think, holy smokes, that many years of smoking. My doctor was really amazed by those results and my dentist. But what that allowed me to do is I was an athlete that recovered very well in that time. And I don't take any pills. So no ibuprofen, no aspirin, no opioids have entered my body. And that's through any procedures I've had, including tearing an ACL. So I'm very proud to say that cannabis in varieties of ways has been what's helped me. Actually, we made a pure tincture, a 2,000 milligram, 500, 1,000 milligram pure tincture with CBD in it. Right in 2019, it was one of our first tinctures we released that I still use to this day. It's my replacement for aspirin and ibuprofen. So products we've
Do
made
you
from the
call it
beginning.
drops? Like, what do you call the
Yeah, it's
tinctures?
tincture. Yeah, the drops. Yep. Yep. Very simple tincture with just CBD isolate. It was actually a white bottle. So I used to tell people I put a red cross in that bottle and replaces ibuprofen in your medicine cabinet. So I've only used that seriously for pain since 2019 when we made it. It's crazy. So it's not even always THC that I use for pain or recovery. But White Widow was the primary strain I smoked through that many years. I tell people I think I was lucky that I had access to that through the friends and family. And I grew some of that myself. And it turns out that's a really good, the mother of extraction we learned. So my company really pays attention to the science of products. We have nanotechnology with a microfluidizer. That's what really is the key for our off hours products, such as our effect-based gummies and our syrups and our weed water. We actually put that all to 150 nanometers. We have a particle size analyzer on site, so we can verify it all, but we found that nanometers, we tested between 80 and 200. We found 150 worked the best with our products and absorption. So that's why off hours products always hit you as quick as it does and as steady.
Well,
Um,
I love the science-backed manufacturing and product differentiation. And even if consumers can't follow that, the end result is you've been able to create one of the top brands in New York in off hours. And we're not talking like disty gummies. We're talking like whole plant, rosin based, specific effect based formulations. And I think that a lot of that comes back from your own focus on quality manufacturing, but you're GMP certified in your manufacturing. What does GMP actually mean in terms of the what goes into those products?
Good manufacturing practices, dietary supplemental level of 114. I knew nothing about it in 2019 when I signed up for my first audit. I basically went on the internet, said, what does it mean? What do I have to do? Signed up with a company. They kind of sent me an Excel spreadsheet of what they're going to kind of be looking for. And I built the program based on that. And I've been going ever since. So I've written over 400 SOPs in this building. You got to cover everything in this building, including waste usage. Like what towels do you use? Like MSDSs have to be kept for everything. It's basically what I learned through this process is it's the second highest level of inspection review under the highest food safety would be a 3-day audit. So you have basically someone comes in once a year for about 10 hours and reviews everything that goes on in your building, SOPs, training. So GMP is a serious, and if you don't keep the certification, you can't make products. You can't sell the products in New York State. And we are the only state that has mandated it from all the processors from the hemp game. So ready for this? 70 processors signed up for hemp licenses, processing licenses in 2019. Only 17 got GMP certified. So when the adult use program came up, there was only 17 companies, processors that could have really started right away, and another 10 came on board, and then it rolled from there. But there was only 17 in the beginning, even ready to roll, making products right in the beginning.
Right, that were just a paper license that wasn't worth anything.
Yeah, I mean, we made products because we sent CBD products under. We had a bad days line we set across the country. We actually, one of our top selling gummies out of our building right now is a lights out CBD CBN sleep gummy that we sell to vape stores across the country. It's actually one of our best sellers out of our building. So
Well,
we
I'm
took
gonna be checking
advantage.
out the website. We've already talked about that.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk to me about operating as a brand in New York. Like, what are the unique challenges right now? I mean, New York is in a time in history that's magical because you're going. It's not perfect, but you're going from like 1 to 2 billion in sales to maybe like 4, maybe 5 in the next few years with expanded access, and it's exciting. And right now, you're coming out ahead. Products manufactured in New York, designed in New York, made in New York by New Yorkers. But what are the unique? Tell me about operating as a brand in New York and how to win and how it's all shaping up.
First, you got to really determine what your lane's going to be, right? You got to figure out if you're going to be a regional brand, if you're going to do micro license. So the micro licenses are going to be similar to craft beer, right? And you're going to have a lot of small, but on the big level, it's really about marketing. When we were talking to brands early on and coming in, I was kind of one of my piece of advice I was telling the brands is if you're coming in here worry about your production costs, you're probably in trouble because your marketing costs are going to be twice as much as your production costs between the pop-ups and putting the people on the
Right.
street and sampling and constantly
Education.
education. And that's a
Yeah.
piece of our license requirement, right? So I go around the state and I do some educational stuff too, because that's actually a requirement of our license. So all those pieces of it are so difficult that it becomes very expensive in the state just because of the sheer numbers of people in the state. And then you can't really hit people with the marketing and advertising regs. It makes it difficult to reach people unless you're actually seeing them face to face. It does make a challenge for brands, but I say all that, but yet we have the most brands of any state this early in the industry. I think there's over 500, almost 600 brands now, which is amazing to me. And I think that's because of the 2-tier system that New York mandated and kind of following along the guidelines of the alcohol space. I think that's a big catalyst for that. I just hope that that continues. We don't have a big consolidation.
Well, it's definitely the intent. A lot of the intent behind the regs is to support operators and entrepreneurs of all sizes. It's not like California early on in the adult use world where there's lots of brands that came into the space and lots that are no longer here, and New York has a ton of entrepreneurial energy, a ton of cannabis culture, and a ton of CPG experience. So I imagine we're going to still be seeing these brands come up and people give it a try for quite some time, and hopefully that remains, you know, one of the most proving grounds for brands that are going to survive the test of time on a national, even global scale. If you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. It's always been the saying. Well, it probably will be the saying in cannabis, you know, when all said and done. It's definitely not going to be easy. So you just released something you mentioned to me earlier. I think it was one of your effect-based gummies, Daydream, that had like, you know, unexpected customer feedback. You want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, first of all, we kind of have three different type gummy lines, right? We just added a third one. So I'll kind of let people know we have an
Great.
effect base that's distillate baked that we put distillate base, we put nanotechnology, and we dial in our minors down to about 2 milligrams. So a key for us is we market all of our tins on our effect base down to 2 milligrams, which means plus minus testing wise, you got to be at 1.7 to 2.3 to pass testing on batches of 250,000 gummies. So this is our effect based line, just so you know where we're at as far as how we infuse with and where we hit for our tech. And that's why it kind of separates us out, because for that one, that's 2 milligrams CBC in that one with CBG. And people are really liking it for post exercise. We're getting feedback. There's a couple dispensaries that get feedback correct from their bud tenders, and I've had a lot coming back to me now, so I'm really excited about it. I didn't expect it, but I have different gummies for energy, focus, creativity, sleep, and then for calm, like before bedtime. So we have that effect based line, but then our live rosin line is where all hand pressed, coming right from the farmers. It's frozen the whole way. We're hand pressing it twice in house, and then we put in our gummies. We're in our 18th batch of live rosin right now, but those are small batches. We do between 2,000, and the biggest batch we've done now is the bomb pop, which is 18,000. But on that, we usually sit at about 10,000 per batch, which makes it very unique gummy. And that's that all body experience live rosin. And then we just put out live resin ropes. So now we have ropes out there, 100 milligram live resin we just hit the market with.
Uh, wow. Tell so for the rosin, you have must have special relationships with growers that
Mm-hmm.
you have understand what's going into that product, because it makes sense that rosin would be smaller batch, because you know you're talking about a harvest, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the very knowledgeable of the supply chain in New York, but there's not like massive grows yet in New York outside of a couple of the original ROs, right? Um,
Correct.
so you're talking small batch, like you're supporting like small farmers in your
Right.
rosin gummies.
Yep, that's it.
Um,
So that's we have four right now that we're partnering with specifically, and I don't know how much you've gone through this process with in this, but really quickly, basically a farmer can only grab the amount of plants that moment that you can trim it down to trimmable quality, basically down to taking off all the fan leaves. You're leaving very little leaves on there. Then you're freezing it that day, and it's staying frozen the whole way to my building, staying frozen at my building till we press it out. The labor that goes into that, and there's not a lot of indoor grows left. So think about a farmer that has someone planting potatoes a half mile west of him. That prevailing wind can put that pesticide on that flower we're hoping is going
oh
to be clean through
yeah.
the process. So people don't realize in New York State, the outdoor farmers that are putting their stuff into live rosin, what the care they're taking to for their plants, people do not realize how much it takes. Labor and thinking about all the elements of agriculture.
You mentioned there's not a lot of indoor grows right now in New York. Wasn't there something that recently, this year, I mean, came where the original sort of outdoor hemp farmer licenses are allowed to grow indoor now, where that wasn't the case, or build indoor facilities? Is that?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that the Empire Cannabis Manufacturing Alliance that I'm a part of has pushed for and got it through, was making sure, because we want to make sure that these guys that had outdoor grows, if they want to move to indoor grow, that they could. So anybody that had a provisional cultivation license can move up to indoor grow, and that's because we pointed out there's not enough indoor grow in this state right now to support me doing big batches of live rosin, for instance, right? Because indoor grows is really where that product really is best coming from. But it's so costly to set them up. We have an indoor grow license right now, and we haven't been able to move on it yet just because of the challenges of cost, financials, building a building,
Yeah,
finding a grower.
it's
It's
millions or tens of millions of dollars to do something like that in a climate like Rochester correctly, right?
yep.
And so Empire Cannabis Manufacturing Alliance, you're one of the founders. Basically, there's 7 or 8 original processors in New York that are helping to lobby the state on behalf of an equitable industry that processors can survive in, but really doing more than that. Um, that's not your first foray into this sort of, you know, professional trade association work that you've been doing. I think, I mean, you've been still doing this since like 2019, and weren't you one of the first folks that helped shape for, what became the OCM and Axle early on, explaining why these hemp processors like NOWAVE should be the first ones that got adult use processing licenses? Talk to me about that and being able to shape sort of, be involved in shaping where the industry is currently.
Yeah, and I got to give kudos to On the Revel for that. They set their first event they
Lulu
put
and
together.
Jacoby.
Oh,
Woo!
amen. I love those two, and Jason too. That whole crew. And I know I'm forgetting someone that I shouldn't, but that whole crew has been phenomenal. But I remember sitting in a room upstairs at the first art gallery that they had event at. And Axel was sitting in a chair, and I was sitting Indian style on a futon, I think. And there was three other processors that were there, and we were all just talking about how the adult use regs were going to come out. We were worried that they weren't going to let the hemp processing and adult use buildings be in the same building together. And he said he was actually thinking, he was looking out for the operators, because he's like, it would be too much for you guys to put it through seed to sale. So right away, I pointed out that since we're GMP certified, we're already seed to sale essentially, where you already put us at the highest level, which we love that you did that because it separates us. I still can't find a bunch of GMP certified facilities at that time across the whole country. So at that time, there was a handful of us that were, and we said, well, if you can do that, we can do it in the same building. They're allowing it now in California. He said, I didn't realize that. Send a white paper up. So I wrote the white paper. Our committee at the New York Growers and Processors Association, our processing committee, we all reviewed it. Our head committee of the Growers and Processors Association agreed. We sent the white paper up, and that got changed. In addition, later on, when we were with Canny, we were with a processing. We were in a processing group as well. We moved it forward, and then we moved to Empire Cannabis Manufacturing Alliance. And in that transition, they came to us, and Alan Gelderman came to us, and we actually got a bunch of bullet points about the terms and conditions. So the first terms and conditions that came out in the adult use processing had some contradictions with GMP inside of it, a couple typos, but then they only wanted to allow us to have 5 milligrams per serving instead of the 10 we're at right now. Yes, our original terms and conditions that came out only said 5 milligrams per serving. So right away, we jumped on it. We submitted a 10 bullet point thing of what we saw the terms and conditions had to be changed. They made all the changes. They definitely didn't realize that they contradicted GMP. They fixed that. And then they made it from 5 to 10 milligrams per serving. And that was definitely initiated by our group as well, which is the same core of people since 2019. I don't want to take all the credit because there's about 8 of us processors that have been working on this since 2019.
So then talking about the current Empire Cannabis Manufacturing Alliance and what you're working on for the benefit of the New York industry.
Right now is we're putting heavy focus on supporting the dispensaries with what's going on with the proximity thing. Number one, we got to put that out in the forefront. But behind the scenes, the seed to sale, the metric and the biotrack and the sublotting issues, and the new entity being created right now, we're really making sure we're a loud sounding board and we're included in whatever's going on with talks with them to make sure it makes sense for everybody in the industry. Because we are GMP certified, we can easily do recalls on batch. Sublotting IDs aren't something that necessarily prevents inversion at that level. It's really earlier on in the stages that inversion is luckily gets cut out with seed to sale. We're all happy about that. We're all encouraging that. We want the system. We're not happy with this delay, which most people wouldn't understand, that we actually want this to be implemented right now. So that's
Right.
really what we're focused on right now, is trying to make sure when this gets implemented, there's not going to be excessive tag fees for the small operators that really could be put them underwater if they have to really do unique IDs at the distribution level. That could put a lot of small brands underwater.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that play out in other markets.
Correct.
So if so, let's change gears here a little bit. Are you thinking about expansion outside of New York? Or are you focusing on New York?
Right now, it's focused on New York. I mean, there's always an eye out. Trump is wild lately. I mean, he's talking lately about trying to free up some stuff for us. I don't, and it's not just Trump. Let's put this in perspective. Biden pushed this through originally, and when you're talking about descheduling something, I didn't know anything about descheduling, and there's other people in this cannabis industry might be way more educated on this. But from a periphery standpoint, I learned that to get something to schedule, it usually takes about 7 years. So Biden pushed that through like 3 years when he pushed it through last year. And now here we are the following year, a different administration is now talking about descheduling and talking about freeing up the banking side of it. So it's intriguing to me that this is really a both side of the aisle issue.
Yeah.
Because I'm an independent, so I don't really care about the Republican Democratic stuff. So I kind of look at things just neutral, and it was very how do I want to say it? Trump wasn't prodded to have to say this, right? So something is going on both sides where they're both pushing this forward and actually pressing the FDA and the DEA through this process. Ripple effect, right? Those are ripple effects that a lot of people don't talk about either. You're kind of putting pressure on those two organizations as well. So it's unique to me. And if the banking can get freed up in our industry and we lose 280E, it can really make expansion for cannabis companies more reasonable. So I'm kind of watching this with a very close eye. And you've been in the string longer than me. I don't know what your take is. I'd be curious what you think, but because I haven't seen this much swell before.
I'm not predicting anything at this point.
No, no, you can't.
None of it makes sense because, again, I mentioned I moved to Tennessee from Southern California about 4 years ago now, and I can go to a restaurant and order an infused beverage. I can go to the gas station and get gummies, and there's no medical program here. So you're telling me cannabis isn't legal? I don't understand how it's all set up anyway. So nothing makes sense. I can't venture to guess. I want the windfall of access to banking, and I want the end of criminal persecution for a plant. And I would like the states to be able to decide how they run their markets. That would be an optimal situation for myself personally.
Mhm.
But
And
I
I don't
can't
know if
wait.
Schedule 3 gets us there. That's because that
Right?
last piece. That's what scares me.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Yeah,
No one really knows. That's the thing. But at least if it happens, there'll be at least 18 months of exuberance before anyone actually understands what it means.
that's
Which I'll
right.
take. I'll take that. I will
Hey, if
take.
it means 280 gets cleaned up, oh my gosh.
I'll take a nice little acceleration of vibes. So, No Wave, what do you look for when you're hiring people? You mentioned you have 100 brave souls attached to that beautiful ship of yours. What do you look for when you hire?
It's tough, because we have so many different aspects we hire from. We got sales, we got marketing people, and then we have what we've been able to do is because we started so small with 15 employees, our core group of 30, 40 employees are in the leadership positions here, and they've grown from the operators. Like most people don't realize I've run every piece of equipment in this building except for our gummy machines. I've run all the distillation equipment. I had our new live rosin press I haven't done, but other than that, I haven't physically have it where I've trained our first employees, right? So now it's just about people that are okay with the tedious work if it is production work, right? If they're a driver, it's making sure they're actually want to be a driver, and everything that means, because there's so much more than just driving. You're a personality out there. You're a face of the company, and a lot of times you're the only times maybe they see anybody for a company as a driver for 2 months. So there's a lot goes into a family atmosphere. We have a really nice building. Our kitchen area is nice. We have a workout facility. We have showers. So we try to make our employees feel at home when they're here. And that comes from all of us they've owned businesses before me, but my grandfather also owned a flower shop. So I've been in a family business my whole life, and I've seen it always run as a family. And that's kind of how we look at it. So when someone comes in, and it's not always about their experience, it's really about what they want to learn. Because I've been telling most of my employees here, because this industry is in its infancy, you could be a leadership at another company in the next 5 years in any state. Like you only half the states even have adult use in it right now, guys. So there's so many opportunities for people in this industry
Right?
to learn.
So much. I've always said it's a restoration of the American dream. If you're willing to put in the work, and you can work yourself up very quickly because you're more qualified for the job than someone from the outside if that next role comes open or as the business expands. Now, cannabis jobs aren't evenly distributed across the country, but getting in and getting at the ground floor, and it is a place where there's a lot of stories of early employees that are running teams of 15, I was talking to a candidate yesterday who, kind of a regional retail leader that has, 15 retail stores across 4 states in the mid-Atlantic. They're talking about the first hire that they made when they took the job was a bud tender, is now running the store they started in, a couple years later. And I'm like,
Yep.
What a cool story that is, man. That's one of the that's a why. That's a reason why you work so hard to see that success around you. It sounds like that's evident in the culture you've built. So you've also interviewed a lot of people trying to work in cannabis. Advice to job seekers about working in cannabis or getting a job.
Understand it's the worst margin market. So you're not coming in with exorbitant salaries. Consultants, that word I'm so done with. But the word consultant isn't a bad word. What is good out of that is you want to make yourself have as many skill sets as possible. Let's start at dispensary level. I talked to a lot of bud tenders. They had a hospitality pathways class for the last couple of years that I helped teach a session up. And one of the things I always told them is you shouldn't be insulted if you're doing anything from sweeping the floors up to helping inventory, up to, helping choose products to order. Because and anything in between, social media, guerrilla marketing, marketing your neighborhoods, right? Because the successful things for dispensaries, there's three basic things, right? So the most versatile you can be, and expect there's going to be change, right? Me as an old guy at my grandfather's flower shop, I did I was the freaking, if I was in that shop and I was 8, I was the one sweeping the floor at the end of the night. Like, are you kidding me? You think my aunts were doing that? No, I was the one
Right.
doing that. Like, so I've never asked anybody that I haven't done myself or been expected to. So that's the first thing. Be versatile. Number 2, gain as many skills as you can. Like, if you're home at night, like, pick up Excel sheets, bills, PowerPoint, how to do that stuff, right?
Educate
Like,
yourself.
right. So I'm a photographer. I'm a videographer. I have a YouTube channel. I have my skills. I was a wedding photographer back in the day. I developed my own film when I was working for the newspaper business. I was a journalist for 12 years. Like, so my skills when I came into this industry, that's where my business partners saw my strength as the compliance side, because I've done so many things compliance related my whole life. And then I had root cause training as a journalist. So I'm a very good root cause analyst. So that carries over into so many different things. So I always tell people, just increase your skills daily. And no matter where you go, and especially now, I remember I used to be begged for 18-year postal career. People, I want to get the post office. I want to get postal, but you got to take the test. Now you can walk in the post office and get a job right now. Like, the culture's changing in jobs where you can get them good quality jobs for pay if you're willing to put in the work and have skills.
Yeah. So I mean, so you said a lot of very good things there, which is continue to educate yourself and learn skills. If you get a job, there's nothing that's beneath you. That's not my job. It's not part of the job description in cannabis. It's not a get rich quick industry. Margins are challenging. Um, but if you will do those things, it takes an element of humility. Um, you can work your way up. And I think the bud tender job, like I've talked to people that were like, corporate lawyers, big law firms like downtown Los Angeles, got a weekend job, on Sunset, an early medical dispensary, and met somebody, started a company in cannabis, left the lawyer job they hated, and sold it for $100 million 3 years later. Real
Yep.
story,
Yep.
So like, get that get that job in the industry that you think might be beneath you and learn more about the industry and see if it's a fit. Like, that's what you have to do if you want to work in this space often. And it's not realistic for everybody, but there's a lot of part-timers, especially in retail, in this industry. So,
That's right.
last question, prediction for New York, over the next few years. Like, what do you think's going to happen? What's coming? Anything, is it going to get to 5 billion by 2027? What do you think?
If it gets to 5 billion, that means the black market is dried up, and that's a very good thing, right? So let's talk about, if it gets that, what needs to happen, right? I don't know if it'll ever permanently dry up, because we can all grow 12 plants in our house legally right now for if you have 2 adults, right? So let's be realistic about that. So will we hit 5 billion? I hope so. As long as the tourism keeps coming into the state, there's periphery things we can't control. If tourism numbers go down, then I don't know if we can get to 5 billion. But I do see a healthy, with the amount of dispensaries they're looking to open, and there's a segment nobody's talking about yet. Let's talk about consumption lounges. It was supposed to be built into all these card holders that they were also be able to have consumption. And I know that there's a kind of a behind the scenes is tough between the Department of Health and OCM right now with air quality standard stuff, but there is an avenue for this, right? To get that fixed. And if so, that's going to maybe get us to the 5 billion. I see that makes our industry even stronger, because now you're talking about further education, further opportunities. Imagine a cannabis bowling alley, where you can go consume
Yeah.
cannabis. Imagine a roller skating rink where you consume cannabis, right? Imagine these interesting things you could do that's not a bar, because we know the rate of alcohol consumption is going down in these states. So I see that as another boon to the state and a help to all of
Yeah.
us. But this consumption spaces, this stall, I think is hurting a little bit the industry, and it needs to be pressed forward.
Well,
And then less consolidation of dispensaries too. We need more municipalities to opt in. I don't want to miss that point too, because that is really important, because that is a challenge in the state. That municipalities
right.
that have opted out, not allowing retail, are forcing some consolidation of licenses on the retail side.
Yeah, and they're supporting the black market.
Yeah.
They're losing out on revenues, and all the things. Yeah, I mean, I think that New York, from a hospitality perspective, like there's a lot of opportunity there if we can figure out the lounge thing. What I would like to see, if like, let's say this rescheduling, descheduling momentum actually happens, is first of its kind corporate partnerships, around New York, and lifestyle, like imagine like I don't know, like a Shake Shack and freaking, off hours, and you just never know. Like New York will be the place where all that experimental stuff's coming, that's never been done before. So I'm looking forward to seeing those never been done before things that New York's going to come up with, personally. But
Me too. No, I agree. Yeah, because how people are, they're hustlers, especially down in the city.
oh yeah,
I can't wait to see some of the things that people will do, like a cannabis yoga studio, like just the little stuff.
yeah. Brian Lane, No Wave, thank you very much for joining us today. We covered a lot of stuff. Great conversation, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. I always like seeing you, and thank you. And again, I'm honored for even be on here, and for everybody that does consume our products, thank you. I'm not naive to know that we may bring good products to the, but if you guys don't buy them, we're nothing. So we appreciate you.